Hey guys, what's going on? AngryLarry here. We're going to do a little bit of a Monday Night Raw recap. It is one of my favorite events of the year. Best three, in my opinion. It goes Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, the Raw after WrestleMania. In my opinion, I enjoy those the most. There was a lot of things I really loved last night, as expected, and a few things I didn't like. Let's touch on them first, because I want this to be an overall positive video. First thing is we had more heel-faced hot potato with the Wyatts now attacking the League of Nations for no real apparent reason other than they needed something to do with the Wyatts, they needed something to do with the League of Nations, so why not just have them attack each other for no reason? And that's the main point of what I hate about heels and faces in today's world, and I'm just going to stop talking about heels and faces. I'll address that more on the Game and Wrestling Connection Weekly show. The link is below. We record those every Thursday night, so cheap plug there. Second thing I didn't like was Shane McMahon being in charge, because what did he do? He had a few handshakes backstage going into commercial and no on-camera presence other than the opening promo. If you want to say all the debuts and matches were made because of him, well, the guys were already in the building with their gear. And in-ring confrontations led to the matches being made. So that perception is silly. Dr. Phil will do more on screen as a celebrity GM if put in that role next week than Shane basically did. So I guess Vince might have went with the flow of the crowd and just said what he said with no real segments planned for Shane, and the because the writing apparently supports that theory more than it supports the theory that it was planned all along. I don't know. It's we'll see what happens, what stems from it. But on the biggest Raw of the year, to say that Shane is going to be in charge and nothing is done with Shane other than he shakes some hands, it was odd. It was odd, and it wasn't done too well. Let's say that. The thing WWE absolutely nailed in this episode were debuts, non-debuts, returns, and departures. Besides the fact that some of the matches were just spectacular and great for Monday Night Raw. First, a departure, allegedly, after losing the tag team title match, against the New Day yet again. Sheamus threw a tantrum. The League of Nations lost, by the way. Sheamus threw a tantrum, questioning why the pairing of the greatest superstars in the world was not the best team in the WWE. And then mentioned they're only as good as their weakest link. Rusev and Del Rio attack Barrett. They hold them up, bro kick, and see you later, Barrett. Now, it's not disrespectful to Barrett's career before anyone says that or I read that. It's a cliche way to have someone leave the company, a wrestling company. And better than just having them disappear, in my opinion. It leaves doors open for potential storylines down the road. So, if that was indeed Barrett's last time appearing on Raw, at least for now, then if he ever does return, hey, guess who he's going to go after? He's going to go after Sheamus or the League of Nations or whoever is around in whatever role they're in at that time. Or he can just, debut as some stupid gimmick, but, at least it gives him something on the way out. Now, the non-debuts, and I talked about this really pretty much until I'm nauseated by it, but obviously Bayley wasn't there, and that won me a lot of money, by the way. And neither was Finn Balor, and he was even rumored to be there just before the show kicked off. And not to harp on the topic yet again, but the main roster is not ready for them. NXT needs them more right now than the main roster needs them. If you're upset by this, you have to ask yourself, what is better? Seeing Bayley and Finn Balor every week on a program you love? Being Bayley and Finn Balor? Or seeing them inserted into the main roster way down on the rankings and in basically places where they cannot perform at their optimal level like they are the full steam ahead in NXT. Best spot for Bayley right now, and I said this before, is a main roster debut, regardless of who has the title, at SummerSlam in the building she rocked last year, the Barclays Center. It could be against Sasha Banks for the title, sure. It could be a 4-way with all the 4 horsewomen too, title or no title. For Finn, let's just let this rumored, supposed Bullet Club feud, angle, whatever it's going to be, play out first and start to develop in NXT. And then you can take the whole faction concept like you did with the Shield. That wasn't created in NXT, though, by the way. You can take that and then just insert it into the main roster at any time, especially if it has enough steam and it's hot enough in NXT. You can have them debut in Raw and do their thing. I think it doesn't matter a specific event or scenario playing out for that to work, but let's have it start first in NXT and then move it over. So those are my absolute final takes on Bayley and Finn Balor not being on the main roster right now. Let's talk returns. At WrestleMania, you had the legends coming back like expected. HBK, Austin Foley, Rock, Cena, all taking out current talent. But Monday Night Raw topped that. Maryse coming back to defend the Miz's honor against Zack Ryder's dad. I mean, that's awesome. Think of a story where Maryse is there being the Miz's bodyguard and mouthpiece. That just fits the Miz so well right now in the role that they've had him have in WWE. It's awesome, and I love her, and I'm glad she's back. Even if she's just on-air talent and not a competitor, I think it's just awesome. It's just a shock beyond all shocks to even see her there when she jumped the rail. Is just great. Great moment. Cesaro's back and basically showed us why we should have missed him. And we did miss him, and he's just great. And the uppercut train was awesome when he threw AJ Styles in the air and uppercutted him out of midair was just great. Everything he did, everything in that match was great, by the way. AJ winning and becoming #1 contender. Cesaro, Jericho, and Kevin Owens. Just a great match. If you haven't watched Raw, I'm sorry I spoiled it for you. You shouldn't have been listening to a Raw reaction show to begin with, but I do thank you for listening. It was really good. Really good. And the best return of them all was in a vignette. PRIMO and EPICO. This is better than if Steve Blackman were to show up on Monday Night Raw, because these guys were just vanished. They just disappeared off the face. They weren't even good enough in the WWE's eyes to be throw-ins in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But they got a vignette, so I guess they are good enough, and I wonder what they're going to do. So, the tag team division is stacking up again. And more on that in a second. How about some debuts on the NXT side? Apollo Crews was rumored to be there, and he showed up, and he delivered. He looked great. He had great energy. He worked a fantastic match with Tyler Breeze, and actually made me want to see more of him. And so did Enzo and Big Cass. Through the roof energy, and put directly into a spot that I called them to be in back in the GNWC Roadblock prediction show. By the way, the link for GNWC channel is below. That was not it. Later, it was announced that the Vaudevillains, another tag team, would make their WWE main roster debut on SmackDown. So they took time out of Raw to announce that, which was great. And for all the people that say they don't do enough to promote NXT, well, they did a lot to promote NXT last night. I will try to call this one too, since I've been hot lately. Let's say they're going to beat the Ascension on SmackDown. We'll see how that goes. I'll mention that on the GNWC Weekly podcast this week, and that's the last time I'll plug that. But you should really subscribe. Link below. The last thing I loved last night was how Roman Reigns was used. He was sent to the ring to deliver that scripted line about not being a good bad guy, not being a good guy. He's the guy. And then basically saying, I'm here to fight. I'm welcoming all challengers. If anyone wants to step up, blah, blah, blah. You know, that whole cliche thing that they've been doing lately with all the champions. Then a few guys came out with claims that they should be #1 contender. And as mentioned before, Cesaro wasn't a part of that. Sami Zayn was a part of that first, initially. Sami Zayn, AJ, Jericho, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens took out Sami Zayn backstage, and that's created the spot for Cesaro. But in all the confusion, you had the two rivals, Zayn and Owens, and the other two rivals, AJ and Jericho. Roman Reigns basically just took a powder and went to the back and said, hey, hey, let these guys fight it out. I'm the champ. I don't need to do anything. And that was perfect. It was a perfect role, especially with the fans so hostile towards Roman Reigns. They didn't force him down our throat as the champion. And he wasn't involved in 100 segments during the night, trying to be like, hey guys, why don't you like me? Or the writers trying to put him in scenarios where it would appease the crowd's cockles of their hearts. You know what I mean? It was very good. Very good. But everything I mentioned good about Raw only worked because it was the Raw after WrestleMania and you had that crowd. Any of those things happen on a random Raw during the year from, let's say, Knoxville, San Jose, and Birmingham, and apologies if you're from Knoxville or San Jose, they have the potential to fall flat and not as hype as they were that night in Dallas. But because of that, since it was all well received, both by the, the fans and the wrestlers, will ride that wave of momentum going forward. And that's what makes the night special. And that's what makes the night perfect for debuts, perfect for returns, perfect for angles better done where somebody would turn allegiances or kick a member out and stuff like that. Overall, it was a great Monday Night Raw, as expected, and does a lot more for the company than most of their live specials did in 2015. So I'm very excited to see where they go from here. I am very much into wrestling, no matter what, but I'm at like the peak right now that I've been at for a long time, maybe since the day after WrestleMania last year. So let's see what happens. Thanks for listening. Make sure you do check out the GNC. The end sponsored. It's not sponsored by GNC. It should be though. It rolls off the tongue. The GNWC Game and Wrestling Connection podcast. Weekly shows, prediction shows, the links below. GNWC Official on YouTube. You can check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/AngryLarry. Subscribe to my channel for more gameplay videos and wrestling videos. We're going to do top 10 every week. Top 10 things we saw on TV that we liked. And a list that will have a better title when it's finally done. And leave comments below. What did you think about Raw? What worked? What didn't work for you? I'd be interested to know. And I would really love for my voice to be better, my throat to feel better, and to get some rest. It was a long weekend. I don't watch TNA live on TV or taped live on TV, so I'll at least have a break today before NXT tomorrow. And I'll see you guys on Thursday over at GNWC and later on in the week over at this channel for the top 10. As always, get off my computer.